is the Vintage RPG Podcast, your source for the best in classic and contemporary RPGs. With your hosts, Hambone and Stu.
Welcome to the Vintage RPG Podcast, coming at you again from the clubhouse hidden somewhere in the swamps of New Jersey. I'm John Hambone McGuire, and with me, as always, is the founder and publisher of Unwinnable. The only making of he's generally interested in is coffee in the morning, Stu Horvath.
I do love my coffee. The other day I went coffee free.
Oh, why?
Yeah, because I was just like, well, maybe I'm overdoing it with the coffee. And then like my brain split in half with a headache halfway through the day. And it's just like, yeah, I am overdoing it with the coffee, but I'm not going to stop.
You know, listen, we said it on the show before, and we're going to say it on the show again. Waking up in the morning, that first cup is part of one of the best reasons about being alive. Like, it's a little taste of what you would imagine as heaven right out the gate. So don't go with that, Stu.
Doesn't matter how hot it is outside either.
Hot coffee.
Hot coffee. It's a beautiful thing.
You know, my wife makes iced coffee, and it is like rocket fuel. Like, I've never done cocaine because I'd love it. And this is what I imagine the closest I'll ever come is my wife's iced coffee.
Periodically, I remember that you can put, ice in coffee and make a nice cold beverage. And when I do, it's like, A, it's, cold and refreshing on a hot day. B, it's also gone instantly. Like I could drink like a pint of it in 2 seconds, and it's really bad for me.
Yeah. Welcome to being over 40, and in some cases, closer to 50. So how you doing today, Stu?
I'm hanging in there.
So a joke I made at the top of the episode, we're going to talk about a making of for Conan, right? But it's based off an article you read in, where?
Cinefantastique.
Well, I haven't heard that name in a while.
I know, right? Well, first of all, I've been trying to watch some more movies lately. And I mean, it's sort of not working. I watched, I was inspired by our chat with Megan the other week to watch Buckaroo Banzai.
Oh, classic.
What a great movie. I haven't seen that movie since I was in high school, I think.
It holds up in a way that it shouldn't.
It's a very strange movie in that it was definitely ahead of its time, and it's still somehow ahead of its time, or feels out of time in a really interesting way.
Right.
Shocking how much Back to the Future is in there. The whole DeLorean thing is almost a direct lift of that opening scene, right?
Oh yeah.
It's just so much of it. And there's just so much, I feel like the aliens inform enemy mine, and there's just a lot, but it's so super weird.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was great. But when I was watching it, I was thinking about how there's always that one guy in a game, right? Who comes up with the really weird ass idea for their character, and they show up and they kind of act like they know, it's normal. It's this is just how I get dressed in the morning. And I don't want to throw this guy under the bus because he just played for the first time last night, and his character's name is MC Hammerhands, and
I love it.
It's great.
Oh, I love it so much.
And
whoever you are, I am a fan.
He's got through our character generation system, he's got a special artifact, and it's he chose a crank Victrola, and he's got a 70. Somehow he has a 78 version of License to Ill, and all of this is just cracks me up. I think it's just hilarious, but it's totally out there. It does fit, but it also sticks out like a sore thumb. But it's funny that that this guy came in with this character, because I was thinking about that kind of character creation as soon as Jeff Goldblum shows up, not when he's originally showing up, but when he meets up with Buckaroo to get on the bus and he's in the cowboy suit.
Oh,
and everybody's like, what's going on, man?
But you just got to go with it, when your buddy shows up like that, if you got anything bad to say, you clearly don't understand fashion. Right? Come on.
You can tell that Jeff Goldblum's character just sort of misunderstood, didn't get, he got part of the memo that everybody in Buckaroo's crew is weird, but he just overdid it and then tries to downplay. It's just brilliant, and it doesn't have any impact on the movie other than this really great tone thing. But then I saw that guy and I was just like, oh man, like that's such a D&D or a role-playing game thing. You always get that sore thumb character. They're almost always memorable in the same kind of way.
That's what it's all about, man. That's what it's all about.
So yeah, I got movies on the mind. Also, I just want to state for the record, I saw man, what a movie. I was having problems with my television this morning, which is maybe what put me in the mind for talking about movies. So I was trying to figure out, it was a sound issue, and I thought I fixed it, but in doing so, I had to plug in, the HDMI into the other socket. So I had to set the TV up again, like get all the tone and like get the motion smoothing and all that crap off.
Oh, yeah.
So while I was doing that, I threw on Dune 2 to kind of like, have that there as my thing to like make sure that it's looking right. And like, it was 15 minutes of me fatutzing around with the settings. And then I just sat there and watched an hour more of Dune 2 again, because holy crap, that movie's amazing. Like I could watch that movie over and over and over again.
The guy's got an eye, man. Villeneuve. Whew.
Yeah.
It's, just visually striking. And yeah, like it's sometimes like, I think people forget or they discount why it's important to see films at the movies whenever you can, because some things, it's the first time you see it, it's worth beholding on a massive screen. Dune 2, one of them, absolutely just breathtaking.
I could totally see that. And I just have to state for the record, probably the best Warhammer 40K movie we'll ever get. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I don't want a 40K movie, because I have like those Harkonnen, like in the beginning in the black suits when they get like murked by the snipers. It's so good. It's just like it's so visually good. I like, gives me chills. Anyway,
you know what? Sometimes like finding something with the serial numbers filed off is exactly what you need it to be, and ends up giving you so much more. Yeah. So right on, Dune 2 40K.
Yeah, I already thought that the Emperor's Guard were very Space Marine-y in the first part.
Oh, absolutely. But now that you said it, I can't unsee it.
Oh yeah, no, it's so, and like Warhammer pulls so much from Dune already in the sort of like the inspiration behind the lore. But yeah, just a fantastic movie. Like, anybody who says that there's no good movies anymore, like, hasn't watched Dune 2. Like, it was really refreshing. And I kind of am that guy where I'm just like, oh man, and we're gonna get into it in a minute. It's like late 70s and early 80s was just a mighty fine moment for movies. Like, but it's not true, because Dune 2 is absolutely fantastic and engrossing. However, getting to the main course, I recently, when it came out, I got the old 4K remaster of Conan the Barbarian and
yeah,
Conan the Destroyer. I own 2 Ultra 4K discs. Do you care to guess what the other one is? It's a real jarring contrast.
Is it The Exorcist?
No, it's Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
The 4K Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Oh man,
dude, there's like 40 minutes of extra footage that is just pure gold. Like, it's just like,
really,
a solid chunk of that is just John Candy being obnoxious on the plane. Like, just so good.
Yeah, the outtakes from that had to be pretty spectacular.
Yeah, there's apparently even more that was like hard to restore or whatever, and there's a couple missing scenes that are known to have been shot and then just have disappeared. I think that's just like some really great character stuff. Anyway, yeah, so Conan and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Maybe I'll buy The Thing one of these days.
I was gonna say The Thing, but I was like, I feel like I know you have it already in multiple different forms of like types of media.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I do. But like the 4Ks are nice. It took me a long time. Honestly, I had to get a 4K TV, and I do appreciate the black of my OLED. It really does change things. The 4K of the Conan, I haven't watched Destroyer. I defend Destroyer because I don't think it's that bad, but it isn't Barbarian.
No, but it's kind of one of the best Dungeons and Dragons movies ever made.
True, but Barbarian is just a movie on a different level.
Well, that's a cinematic masterpiece. We've definitely gone into depth about that on and off the podcast. But like, I mean, that's the very stark difference between like The first one being like the biggest thing in the world, and then you got to make another one. And the next one, I tell you, if you just reframe it as Dungeons and Dragons, the movie with Conan, perfect movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, Cinefantastique.
So the 4K comes with both discs in their little thing, and then there's a book in between the two. And the book collects, it's a bunch of stills, and it collects a couple essays. All of it's interesting. But the first substantial essay is this essay from Cinefantastique. And I read it, and it's absolutely, it's one of, I don't read a lot of film crit or like just film writing. So like I don't know in the pantheon of this stuff. Some film guy is going to be like, well, you need to read this. And it's like, no, I don't. But in the film stuff that I've read, this is just an absolutely fantastic. Oh, did I?
Yeah,
do
you
that?
did. You
I
did. You
did
walked
that.
right into it.
I did. I couldn't help it. Getting old, Hambone. It's a marvelous piece. I loved it so much that I had to buy the original magazine, which came out in April of 1982. It's actually a double issue that's basically entirely dedicated to this one essay. Paul M. Sammon, Smmon. They sent him to Spain, and I believe he was there for 10 or 11 days on set. He had complete access to the production. Basically, the only thing that he couldn't see was the dailies as they came in, because Milius was really sensitive about that. But everything else, he had full access to the cast and crew. He has long conversations with the set designer, Ron Cobb. He's got a great interview with John Milius. He talks to all the actors. Arnold is fantastic in this interview. He shares a cab with James Earl Jones to the set at one point, and like does his like part of his interview, and they're just talking about stuff. They're not always on point. Like there's no PR people or marketing people anywhere near this guy. He's just kind of like part of the family for 11 days,
which is unprecedented when you think about how interviews have been conducted from like the 80s on, and the very specific cycle of the interview process.
I can't understand. Like, I just can't comprehend it. This guy was paid. First of all, this guy was paid to write this thing, like probably a pretty good chunk of change. Like made some rent payments, which you can't do today. I don't know if you guys know anything about the writing biz. It's a little more difficult. And then like they devote 2 issues basically to it of space. They fly him out there, and he's like spends the better part of a month in Spain. He talks and there's time for him to like kind of talk about the city as he's driving through it, the cabs, the airport. Like it's not just a piece about Conan, it's a piece about his trip and the way he's interacting with these people. And the essay itself is fantastic, but the essay as presented in the magazine is just awesome, because there's so much like behind the scenes stuff that I have never seen that isn't even in the 4K release or the book that comes with the 4K release. There's all these set pictures of stuff that you don't see in the movies. Like, for instance, did you have any inkling that the servers in the orgy scene, the guys who are like cooking the human stew and like who are just basically like running around as waiters, did you have any notion that they were supposed to be Frazetta style Neanderthals?
No,
they are.
Holy shit!
Yeah, and you got photos of the makeup here, and they look they look like Frazetta style Neanderthals. It's crazy.
So, real quick sidebar for people who've been listening to us just yammer on about this up until this point. For those who may not know, dear listener, Cinefantastique was an American horror, fantasy, sci-fi. It was like a Fangoria, a Starlog type magazine. And that's where a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that we now take for granted looking at on the internet and popping up on links on our phones used to come from. You used to have to like spend money to be able to see behind the scenes stuff from movies.
I was surprised at I expected sort of like a Fangoria style, like kind of like crummy paper, but this is pretty good stock. Seems like a little bit more of a little higher end of a production. And at least in the early 80s. And this stuff, I tried to find this stuff a little bit after I read the book that came with the discs, because I wanted to see like they had he talks a lot about their training with Valeria and Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sandal Bergman's swordsmanship training. And I wanted to see photos of it, and I couldn't find anything on the internet, but they're in this magazine. And she actually, Sandal Bergman, during the course of his interview, like on set one day, like really messed up her finger, and like that's a whole story. Like it's just, there's so much, and it's just so interesting, and everybody seems so genuine. I think is the thing, genuine and excited and humble. Arnold isn't a huge star yet. He's like, everybody's working so hard. It really comes across as like a real passion project for everybody involved. When I said that it felt like Sammon was brought into the family for 11 days, there is a sense of like this is like a found family that existed for like however many months. It seems like a really special moment in time. And it was. The movie, you could see it, you could feel it in the movie. That movie is a masterpiece. The sets are crazy, especially when you see some of the set work out of the context of the film. You get a sense of the scale of it. Like the Temple of Set is this massive building that had hundreds of extras there for the filming. It has like a weight and a realness that you don't get in films today, for better or worse. Like I said, Dune is an absolutely fantastic film, but it's a very different film. The whole thing just struck me as special, and I know that it's special because, and I thought that this was also equally interesting. There's a second essay by Sammon in the book that came with the DVDs, and it's basically the same thing that he was brought back to do for Conan the Destroyer, and the tone is completely different. It's only a couple years later, 2 years, right?
Really?
And yeah, but like everything is managed. You can feel it. It is a palpable change in the text. The way everyone talks, they have talking points, and PR has definitely, like, the marketing department has made these people practice what they're going to say. Arnold is very much in control of the production. Like, you could feel that. You could feel that the wattage of all the smiles that all these people were smiling at Sammon as they were talking to him. They kind of throw Milius under the bus. The director who is sort of just like, that was a fine movie, but like I think he got some things wrong, and I'm going to do it differently. And it's just, there's a lot of like kicking the other guy and saying we're going to do it better. It's going to be more violent, more muscular. And you could tell that Sammon, as a writer, who is, I believe, transitioning soon after he becomes a PR kind of marketing guy. But you could tell there's just the magic has gone out of Sammon's writing too. And I don't know if that's because a symptom of him or a symptom of the editorial people that he was working with, or if the business, like the material that he was covering, was just like disappointing to him. But like there's definitely a change. And it's a change for the worse, and it's pretty sad. And it made me kind of reevaluate and sort of like admit to myself that, yeah, Destroyer is kind of a cash grab, like it's fine. I enjoy it, but like it is the lesser of the movies.
I mean, it's very interesting when you break it down like that. I think you're kind of spot on with your description of like the difference between those couple years, because you imagine that if he is with them and he is on the set doing, being part of the family, everyone's bringing him in, everyone's being loose. I mean, Conan came out 82, the Destroyer came out 84.
Yeah.
So you figure it's probably like maybe late 79, early 80, maybe mid 80. He is actually like there with the people, and they're not in the US. They're overseas. Everyone's, freewheeling and enjoying themselves. And then 80, coming up to 84, when he's actually doing the interview rounds, like, normal US, there had to be a lot of people being like, no, you can't say that. No, you can't do that. It's got to be very specific, very regimented. And it's just the way it's been in Hollywood ever since.
Yeah.
It's fine. Have you ever seen the movie Almost Famous?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So to me, what you just described is exactly what happens in Almost Famous, where like the kid goes and he's in there and they just bring him around and he's like kind of just hanging out with the band. And then they almost go down the plane and he writes everything that happened.
Yeah.
And they get the article and they're like, what the fuck? You know, and they're all flipping out about it. And the editor's like, did that happen? He goes, that really happened. Like, I wrote what happened. Like, I'm sure that like while the people at Cinefantastique, whatever the fuck the magazine was called, we're probably like, oh my God, this is the greatest possible outcome we could possibly want for an interview like this. Like, this is truly like unprecedented. And then the PR flacks back in the US were like, oh my God, I can't believe you wrote all that. Like it happened, you know? So that's cool. I love that. I always, we talk about, you know, not getting, you know, swayed by nostalgia, but I love that place and time shit that you'll never see that again, you know?
It made me appreciate the original film twice as much. And like I was always aware of that shift. Everything's more managed now. The ad marketing people have just become more effective at doing what they do, for better and worse. Like nothing against those folks,
No,
but
of course not.
there's just a genuineness that comes through in that first article, and it allowed me to watch the movie in something like the first time again.
Oh wow, yeah.
And it was really worth it. I definitely I mean, I don't don't be like me. Don't buy a 1982 magazine unless you really want to.
Yeah, but there's so much gold between the covers, man, because you also get all the behind the scenes pictures, like, you know, what they wanted the speculation to be about the movie and like the rumor and innuendo. You find out like secrets about things that like should have happened, but maybe got cut because of budgetary restrictions.
Yeah.
Like, I imagine a lot of people found out about the octopus and Goonies because of something like Starlog.
Yeah.
You know, and also like, dude, like I am a subscriber to this day of Fangoria, and I love it. Comes out 4 times a year. The quality of it is like a very like high-end magazine quality now, like legit. But one of the things I appreciate most about it is that when I open up to any kind of article about a movie, you still get those great like behind the scenes shots. You still get those like, you know, a person with a camera took a still photo of the scene while it's happening. So even if it's not the picture of the dude in the suit, like you get to see all the nuance of the monster and all like the little intricate details that even on 4K, because of the lighting, don't actually show up, and it makes it so much more like real.
Yeah.
And you know, and of course, like, you know, they have to embargo stuff, so the magazine sometimes drops right around the time one of the major movies that are coming out, you know, and understandable.
Yeah.
But the behind the scenes stuff you get is actually pretty cool, man. And I appreciate that still to this day.
Yeah. And this issue is pretty cool. Besides the Conan stuff, there's features on Videodrome, Creepshow, the making of Swamp Thing. There's reviews of Ghost Story, Saturday the 14th, which is a funny movie. I don't really recognize the others, but like it is a cool moment in time. So yeah, I do kind of recommend picking up the magazine. You know what? I also have to say, sort of like a surprising amount of photos for the Conan film, featuring just nudity right there on the page, which I sort of was a little surprised by.
Yeah.
Not something that you would see in like Fangoria now.
No, you know, I mean,
movie magazine of today. And it's just like, you know, whatever. It's a set photo. Like, who cares? But like, I was just like, oh, you know, I was buying the wrong magazines as a young man.
This should have been on the top shelf for the other magazines,
right? Like,
how is this within a child's reach? Oh man. So, do you have any final thoughts on this excellent article that you read on Conan?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Like, my final thought is chase it down. Whether you get it through the Conan 4K, or if you spend $10 on eBay for the real thing, it's worth your time, and I think it'll help you see both of those movies in a different light. I'm thankful for the experience, which is not something I get to say very much about 40-year-old movies. You know,
Certainly not.
Yeah.
Well, this has been another amazing episode of the Vintage RPG Podcast. Stu, where can the people find you on the internets?
They can find me on vintagerpg.com, where you'll see 5 posts a week on weekdays. Sans algorithms, they go up, they stay where they go. There's nice search functionality, and the entire archive is there. It's over 500,000 words on role-playing games, just there for you for free to peruse at your leisure.
That's a lot of words, man.
That's a lot of words.
And that's not even the book.
That isn't the book. If at some point this year, I will, like, between writing posts for 2025 or finishing the monster book, I will surpass 1 million written words on role-playing games, which is fucking insane.
That is absolutely fucking insane.
In 7 years too. I don't know if that like is there, maybe 8 years now. But like it's like, what? No, it's 7 years. 7 years.
I think when you hit 1 million words, when someone calls you an RPG historian, you just have to finally say, yeah. You're right. You have to accept it. You got to take it at 1 million words.
Deny it to my dying breath.
I believe that. You can find me across the internet at John McGuire RPG. I've been posting a little more. We actually started gearing up to do Tuesday night action, where I'm going to be running 3-2-1 action for the entire month of July on Tuesday nights to get people to know the game. So if you want to sign up, there's a link over at 321actiongames.com. You can click, do the event invite on Facebook. There'll be PDF giveaways, the whole 9, and you get to roll your dice with your old buddy HB, which is pretty fun if I do say so myself. Our friends over at Nerdy City, Hollow-matics. By the time you hear this episode, it will be 8 days left on Kickstarter. They are almost there. They're getting there, but every little bit counts when it comes to Kickstarter. So if you like the episode on Hollow-matics and you've been thinking about jumping in and getting truly outrageous, why not dip over to Kickstarter? They have 8 days left by the time you hear this, first time it being aired. If you like the show, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Your reviews help other listeners to find us. And if you really like the show, why not become a patron? Patreon.com/vintagerepg. We got a behind-the-scenes look at what Stu's working on. You got a behind-the-scenes look at what I'm working on. We've got a tier where you can play RPGs with me. We got a tier where you can play RPGs with Stu, which he does his weekly West Marches game that you've heard the episode about, and it gets pretty wacky over there. We have a killer Discord community that we'd love for you to be a part of. Early release episodes, usually around Friday or Saturday, depending on when we record them in the week, for as little as $1 a month. Patreon.com/vintagerepg. Oh, actually, you know what? I ran Ninja City from Get Haunted Industries, Joey Real, the other night.
Oh, nice.
And killed a guy.
Hey,
cool. Yeah, very cool, man. Thank you.
Are you sure you want to admit that in public on a public feed like that?
I do. It felt really good when it was happening. But more often than not, because I never actually set out to kill anybody in these games. You don't know what's happening till it's over, and they're like, "Oh, now I'm dead." And you're like, "Oh shit, I did that." It's like, whew, yeah.
One of the new players in the West Marches rolled up a mage with 3 hit points. It's his first game. And a son of Caius nearly killed him right at the edge of the map as he escaped. Hit him for 2 damage.
Oof.
So close.
Yeah.
First encounter.
I mean, shit. It still doesn't beat when I got killed as a wizard in the Temple of Elemental Evil. Just as I rolled up a character, I'm walking across the grass of the moat house, and I got killed. And those fuckers were hard to roll up back then. So anyway. By the time you listen to this episode, when it airs on the 24th of June, I'm going to be 5 years sober on June 23rd. And I thought that was worth mentioning. Hey. So by the time you hear this episode, I will have crossed a major milestone in my life. The hardest thing I've ever had to do. And if you are out there and you're struggling, there's always help. And you just have to ask. But yeah, I will tell you, we're recording this on Wednesday night. On Sundays, I'm going to have a me day, and at the end of it, I'm going to demolish a Fudge You the Whale. That's the only thing I want for, hitting 5 years sober. I mean, other than, to not go back to drinking, is I want to enjoy a Fudge You the Whale on my fifth year sober. So that's the plan.
Do it.
Hell yeah. So for Stu Horvath, I'm John Hambone McGuire. May the dice always roll in your favor. Take care.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, review, and subscribe to the podcast. Every review helps other listeners to find us. The Vintage RPG Podcast is a ham-fisted production. Music by Dega West. Art by Schaefer Brown. If you like the podcast, you should also consider becoming a patron at patreon.com.